Layla Shaver, and I wanted to talk to you about how to make sure you guys as RAs are doing what you need to maintain your reputation. Yes, reputation. Listen, when you are trying to bring new clients, they have to know you, like you, and trust you. And in this day and age, when there's so many record-breaking fines, record number of enforcement actions, record number of bans of individuals from the industry, now more than ever, maintaining your good reputation is important. And it's one of the ways in which you can stand out from the competition. So I'm going to talk about some different strategies you can implement to make sure you are maintaining a very healthy and positive reputation. So first and foremost, you want to have a very strong code of ethics. What's the code of ethics? It's essentially the ethical code by which your advisors and support staff comply with. It talks about what they can do in their positions, what's ethical. Similar to lawyers who have their own kind of rules of professional conduct, these are the rules of professional conduct for your RIA. So it goes over trading expectations when it comes to trading, what you can and cannot do with insider information, what kind of disclosures you're required to make. Having a really strong code of ethics and then training your team on what your ethical standards are for your firm is super important. And ensuring that you're doing that continuous updating, training, and review, that's right. You've got those quarterly personal securities attestations, those annual attestations. You want to make sure you have that strong code of ethics to make sure your team is helping you maintain your amazing reputation. The second thing you can do to make sure you're maintaining a great reputation is really implementing a strong policies and procedures manual and a strong compliance program. Your manual is the go-to. It tells your team all the things they can and cannot do. So blow the dust off the cover of your compliance manual, crack it open, and take a look. It probably needs to be updated, A, because there's been so much regulation that's been coming out, and B, because you're growing, you've changed, you've brought on new vendors, you've brought on new technology. It probably needs to be updated. Furthermore, your compliance manual has to be more than just policies. It's a policies and procedures manual. So it needs to go through not just what is the policy on trade errors, but what the hell am I supposed to do when I've made one? And it should have those step-by-step processes. It should underline who's responsible for the testing, who's responsible for supervision, what are the repercussions if someone does something wrong, what happens next, and what kind of conduct rises to the level of being terminated. These are really important things to make sure they're outlined in your compliance manual. Along with a strong compliance manual, you need really strong compliance testing. So you need to make sure you're implementing testing. That's routine, like email review, advertising review, billing review, client file review, suitability review, trading review, but also the stuff that's unique to your firm. Based on your technology, your vendors, your staff, the services you provide, you may have very specific testing that you need to implement because of the unique attributes of your firm. So make sure you're taking a look at what's happening in your compliance program. Prioritize compliance, review your policies and procedures annually, implement testing, review the testing you're doing, and review places where you could benefit from implementing more testing. And these are the components to creating a really robust compliance program. And of course, you should always have someone leading your compliance program who has the skill, experience, and knowledge to do so. So if you want to maintain a really healthy and positive reputation, make sure you have a robust compliance program. Now, I've heard from people in our industry that they have no conflicts of interest. And you know what I say? Bullshit. You know why? Because as long as you're being compensated, you are inherently conflicted. You're getting paid for it. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. You're never going to be without conflicts of interest as a financial advisor. So in order to maintain a really healthy and positive reputation, you've got to make sure you know what those conflicts of interest are in your business. Whether you're a firm that allows your advisors to also sell insurance products, brokerage services, commodities products, whether you are someone who utilizes third parties who share fees with you for referring business to them. These are all different conflicts of interest that would need to be disclosed to clients and prospects. And the more transparency you have with your team, your clients, and your prospects, the healthier and more positive your reputation will be. Now let's talk about staying updated with regulatory changes. That's right. Listen, you don't want to be this awesome firm, you got this amazing building, you just got it remodeled, you've got all these young, sexy people running your business, ka-chow, ka-chow. And then what happens is you have no compliance program. And it's the freaking Wild West, and everyone's out for themselves and doing whatever the hell they want. That's not going to be a positive reputation maker for you. If you want to maintain a healthy and positive reputation with all the challenges there are out there, you've got to make sure you're keeping up with regulatory changes. There's so many happening, and they're happening so quickly. You have to make it a part of your process every day to go look at your state regulators, go look at the SEC, go look at FINRA, and look at what are the rules that are being contemplated? What are the rules that have gone into effect? How much time do you have to comply with those rules? And then be proactive. Implement a plan or strategy to get compliant. Talk with your team, train them, get them prepared for the changes that are coming to your firm. The more you talk about this with your staff, the more you introduce regulatory updates and make it a regular part of the conversation your team is having, you are going to create a very healthy culture of compliance. And when you do that, you'll create an amazing reputation for your business. Another strategy to maintaining a positive and healthy reputation with clients and prospects: effective communication and transparency. Listen, we all know that you hate updating your ADV documents every year. Form CRS, that bullshit 2-page document. ADV 2A, boilerplate mumbo jumbo. No one actually reads that, right? Well, there are people who do. And the expectation is that those documents are full of information for clients and prospects to read about. So instead of poo-pooing on these documents, take it as an opportunity to talk about your business. Be transparent. Talk about all the ways in which you serve clients, all the benefits of working with your firm. This isn't just some regulatory requirement. It's an opportunity to talk about your business with prospects and clients. It's an opportunity to disclose those conflicts of interest and have an open dialogue with the people that you are working with. After all, these are people who are trusting you with their life savings, their legacy, the inheritance of their next generation. This is really important for them. So give it the proper respect and time it deserves. So look at your disclosures. Create a culture of transparency with your clients. I promise you they'll appreciate it, and they'll appreciate it more during times of volatility, market downturns, and those are the things that shield you from potential client complaints and legal actions in the future. So, you want to maintain a great reputation and protect your firm? Make sure you're talking to your clients. Communication and transparency is key. All right. You want to have a good reputation? Then let's talk about off-channel communications. Don't look at me and be like, what's off-channel communications, Layla? What do you mean? Off-channel, meaning not on-channel, meaning unapproved methods of communication. That's right. When you have people going rogue and communicating via methods you can't supervise, you are creating risk in your business, and you're creating risk that someone is acting in a not so good way, right? In a way that could be a mark on your reputation, cause an enforcement investigation, cause a disclosure for your firm or that individual. Maintaining great communication is really important. But you have to also make sure to understand that archiving those communications is part of your books and records requirement. And you're also required to supervise those communications. So when you are encouraging communication and transparency with your team, make sure they understand that that can only be done through approved methods of communication. And listen, I know sometimes it might be easier to text message or send a Facebook message, but unless those are approved, it shouldn't be done. And if there's an opportunity to implement a tool or technology to make it easier to communicate, consider it, because it'll diminish the potential risk that someone decides to go outside those approved methods. So remember, you want a healthy reputation, manage those off-channel communications. Now, I've talked about a lot of things about how to maintain and keep a great reputation, even though all the craziness is happening from a regulatory perspective. But a lot of that comes down to training. That's right, training your team. What's important? Why do they have to do the things they have to do? Help them understand what is the rule? What is the implication of the rule? What is the potential downfall? What are the potential repercussions if you don't comply with the rule? And what does that mean for the individual and the firm? Help them understand through training and constant communication. And training shouldn't be once a year at your annual compliance meeting. You should consider implementing monthly or quarterly calls where compliance is a key subject in the meeting, where you're going over regulatory updates, new guidance, new policies and procedures. But it's incredibly important to keep your team informed and train them on what the requirements are and how their position specifically is impacted by those rules, and what they need to do to make sure they comply and keep themselves and the firm safe. So training is super key to maintaining a healthy and positive reputation. So listen, we've talked a lot about communication and training and policies and procedures, transparency with clients. You know what also you need to make sure is transparent? Your advertising practices. That's right. If you want to make sure you're keeping a good reputation in the industry, especially with the regulators, you want to make sure you have clear and consistent advertising practices. So what does that mean? That means you have to have clear, thought out processes around the kind of advertising your advisors can do, what platforms they can use, the kinds of disclosures they're required to have, and how they can implement different advertising strategies. So you have to think about it. Are you going to let advisors go get testimonials on their own? Or is that something that the home office is going to take care of? How are you going to supervise those testimonials? How are you going to ensure that they have the appropriate disclosures? How are you going to make sure that they are put on the correct platforms? There are a lot of things you have to think of, and testimonials are just one part of the advertising game. There's social media content, there's videos, there's radio, there's brochures, there's blogs, there's articles, there's webinars, there's virtual webinars. There's so many different types of marketing and advertising you can do. But you have to make sure that you have very clear guidelines on what kind of marketing you can do and what are the rules and parameters around that marketing. Make sure you have someone who's appropriately trained to review and approve advertising, and make sure they're keeping up with all the changes in regulation. So just recently, the SEC fined 9 firms over $1.25 million in fines for marketing rule violations. Did you read about it? Do you know why? You should, because you may find a lot of things in those fact patterns in those orders that you may be doing yourself. So it's really important to make sure that your advertisements, your marketing material, they follow very clear guidelines, and you want to make sure the messaging is consistent. There are other things you may want to think about too when it comes to advertising. What is your brand? What is the image that you want to relay? Is it political? Is it religious? Is it sexual? Of course, everyone tells you never talk about religion, politics, or sex, right? So what is it you're comfortable with? What can you talk about through your firm? You want to make sure there's very clear and consistent messaging, and you want to be very clear with your team what the boundaries are when it comes to advertising and messaging. The more you're clear about that, the more you have guidelines and processes in place, the better you can be with your advertising and marketing. I have one more strategy for you on how to maintain a positive reputation with regulators and clients, and that's to make your regulatory filings on time. Yes, your annual amendments, your Form 13F, that pesky Form NPX for proxy voting. Don't know what I'm talking about? You better look that up. You want to make sure you're filing these on time. Most recently, there were several firms that were fined millions of dollars for failing to file Form 13F or failing to file it in a timely fashion. This is the low-hanging fruit that regulators see, right? Because you're submitting it through the SEC's EDGAR system. You're submitting it through the SEC's IRD system. These are the easy things that you should be doing. So if you're failing to do those, what else are you failing at doing? So if you want to maintain that positive reputation with regulators and clients, get your filings done on time. Super important. Listen, I know I've given you a lot of tricks, tips, and tidbits for you to maintain a healthy and positive reputation with clients and regulators. But you're probably sitting here thinking, damn it, Layla, how the hell am I supposed to do all this? I'm managing a book of business. I'm managing people. I've got a family. I need time to eat and sleep. I get you. I get you. And that's why our firm is here to help. So if you're ready to take the next step and offload these responsibilities, if you want to have a super healthy and positive relationship and reputation with clients and regulators, then give us a call. Let us take on the heavy lifting for you so that you can benefit from that positive reputation and enjoy a really great relationship with your clients and regulators. Give us a call at 770-462-2118. And don't forget, good compliance is good business.